So, well, hello everybody. So I'm going to be presenting this on behalf of two international teams that we are working on two separated but connected projects. Both projects are funded by the UKRI, the Global Challenge Research Fund, and we are mostly based in Southeast Asia with study sites in Hanoi and in the Philippines, in Manila. So the first project is actually a research project. So we are trying to understand the dynamics of how risk is being created in mega cities that are growing much faster than planners can actually plan for them. So for example, Manila has a backlog of more than 6 million houses waiting to be allocated, but the number of people who either grow, so either are born already in Metro Manila or are coming from rural areas to Manila is too big to be provide housing, proper housing. So there is a lot of informal settlements all around Manila, but also Hanoi. So that's a community that we are trying to help. As you know, Southeast Asia is very prone to multi-hazards. Flooding is probably the top, but they have landslide, they have earthquake, they have all kind of hazards. So our primary role is to understand in first place why those communities are in risk situation in first place. We are looking at historical evidence and how the risk drivers has evolved over time to put those communities under risk. Then we're also trying to understand how different communities, different cultures perceive risk and disasters. And by that, we're using creative art, tacit knowledge kind of exploration. So really try to understand if the way they perceive the risk and the disaster is the same in Hanoi, in Manila, as for example in the UK. And things that we are learning by doing is that, for example, in the UK, when you ask people who have experienced flooding, the most stressful event for them is actually dealing with the insurers. It's not the actual flooding event. And when you go to Hanoi and Manila, they have no experience with insurance because they simply don't have it. So there is a lot of different cultural responses and perception on disaster that I'm trying to understand by doing this. But also because it's a global challenge research fund, we have to find minds to implement and find solutions. So, and that's where the other project came in, which is actually acknowledging that this is a much bigger problem than the one that we can solve. So we need a much bigger community to be able to implement any sustainable solution. And that's why we are putting together what we call the ARUSIA, which is the Alliance for Resilient Urban Southeast Asia network. Again, that is looking at resilience and multi-hazard, and in particular in Southeast Asia. And that's the one that I'm going to be focusing for the rest of the presentation to show you how we are linking these two projects. So the mission of the ARUSIA, of the network, is we want to create a community, and by that I mean a community of geoscientists, social scientists, stakeholders, entrepreneurs, and the community affected by the disaster, of course, to help and empower those people to become more resilient, and in particular to break the poverty trap that they are involved in. But also we are fully aware that the disasters are not only natural and human. I'll explain in a second what I mean by that. We are operating at the moment in Hanoi and the Philippines, but we have an ambition to grow for the whole Southeast Asia. This probably puts the rationale that we have behind our approach. So we acknowledge from the beginning that disasters are not natural, but are also socially constructed. And there is a method that you might be familiar with, that is the forensic investigation of disaster, that has been applied elsewhere, mostly in South America, but also in Japan, and it's starting to be applied in Southeast Asia. So what we're doing is, well, how can we apply this methodology to first understand what are the root causes of disaster historically, then ask the question about, are those drivers of disaster risk creation still active today? So do we have evidence that those processes are still active today? And those are the ones we should be targeting. In some cases, we acknowledge that we cannot target them because they are global and we don't have the capacity to intervene on them. But at least we have to make sure that whatever intervention that we do, we don't make things worse than that. And having this historical perception of how risk is created is key for that. So then here you have what do we do, how do we do it, why, and the community that we're trying to create. So I already said what do we do. How do we do it is by actually putting social entrepreneur at the core center of what we do. That was related to the question that I was asking in the chat to Roger, that as a complement to using models to understand all the complexities, we are very much keen on using, not experiment, but using in situ interventions and see if what we perceive might be a solution or an idea might solve the problem, actually works or doesn't work. And we're using to do that, which is social business. I don't know if you're familiar with, but this is like a normal business. But rather than for the economic profit, you are trying to solve a social problem. That's why they're called social business. Why we are aiming, we're using this as a way of intervening in the communities is because we think they will provide the drivers and the community needed to break the processes that we know must be going on because disaster risks have been creating more rapidly than reduced. So we need to break that loop, and we think that they have all the elements or the ingredients able to do that. But we acknowledge, as I said at the beginning, that this is a much bigger problem. So the community has to involve not only the social entrepreneurs, but also innovators, educators, thought leaders, stakeholders, as geoscientists or behavioral economic scientists, to try to morph those ideas into solutions. So what we've done so far is that's before the end of last year, 2021, we have a series of workshops. All of them are available on our website, in our Facebook website. You have the videos. And we were sort of trying to teach each other. So because perception of risk and the methods are not equally well known in all different countries and by the team. So we were teaching each other, but also finding a pathway towards our common vision. So what we did was, as I say, a series of workshops with the three main goals as you see on the slide. So we want to create a platform for the community, and the community I already mentioned is quite a broad community. So to teach each other, so they might already have a solution that we are not aware of. So that's the teaching part, but also to share the vision. We have to identify the linkages between urban resilience and the root cause of disaster. As I mentioned, identifying in particular those that we think we can intervene and those that are too big for us to intervene, but at least we have to be aware of. And also, how do we build a practical framework as a platform that actually is sustainable after these two projects are done. So we split the workshop in 2 days. Day one was very much sharing the vision and aims. And then we sort of start teaching each other about the experience of using the forensic investigation of disasters in all different countries, in the UK, in Southeast Asia and South America. And also, what is this social business? How this one, if it is well known or is not well known in Southeast Asia. And then we have a discussion about this one. And then on day two, we went through a key question that we thought were important to derive this pathway to our impact. So who are the actors that we need to be involved in the community, already connected or not? When do we need them to be talking to each other? What are the resources they need? And when do they need that resources? So with all those discussions, we were planning then, what do we do for the next 1 month, 6 months, and 12 months? And then on the phase that we are at the moment is what we are doing over the next 6 months. And that's going to be my last slide. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on this one because it's important. So over the next 6 months, we're going to be incubating 10 social business in Southeast Asia, mostly focused on Hanoi and Manila, but anywhere in Southeast Asia will be okay. So we have a call that is now open for both entrepreneurs and mentors. That is open until the 21st of this month, of February. So mentors are people who have experience developing social business and are willing to help entrepreneurs to develop their idea. And then with the help of Bridge for Billions, which is a company who is sort of making easier to go from an idea to a validated business, social business and growth, we're going step by step through all the different phases that you have to go through to go from idea to fruition. As we've been learning by doing, the key thing is actually on the phase that you see between the validated based business and growth, the acceleration bit, and that's where we're hoping we will have the biggest impact. So by choosing ideas and business ideas that are well developed, or they have some market knowledge, we're hoping to provide enough information that this critical step, the growth step, will be successful in the future. So probably I will stop in there. You have all the information about how to apply, what we are offering to mentors, what we're offering to entrepreneurs, and how to register your interest in our website, arusia.org. And that's all from my side, Alessio. Thanks a lot.